Hi everyone, welcome to another Sparking Joy episode. So in this episode, as you can see from the title, we're going to be contemplating the fall through the lens of both, as you can see here, the tarot, but also I'll be doing a reading from this book. There's a short chapter on the fall. So I thought that would be interesting to sort of compare and contrast and just get some idea in our mind and maybe develop our own concept of what it means to be a fool, however you want to say that correctly, or to be foolish, or to think one is foolish, and how, in that journey from, say, being foolish to being unfoolish, that realization, that eureka moment is, to me, a example of a sparking of joy. So let's just go through, look at some of the imagery, and I wanted to pull both from the tarot and from the sort of this Buddhist work, just to give us a bit of an overview as to different ways we can sort of think about this and maybe contemplate the concept of the fall in everyday life, and maybe learn some stuff that hopefully we don't know already, to enlighten our foolish nature. So I'm actually, just full disclosure, I'm using this book as my sort of source of knowledge, inspiration. So you can see we've got 3 representations from 3 different decks here. So this would be from, the good old, the deck I think that most people are, or certainly I became most familiar with when I first, had a look at tarot. And we'll look through actually some other cards as well that I've got in my nice Taschen Library of Esoterica book as well. But this is probably the one that certainly I, and I think probably quite a lot of people, are familiar with. This image here, or this card here, is from a deck that I've looked at before in a video, and I'll include a link to any of the decks here that I've done unboxings for. The Hermetic Tarot, and then finally one that I recently acquired, which is the Austin Osman Sphere Tarot deck. Now you can see differences, you can see commonalities, and maybe as I go through specifically on this card, I may not pick them out, but see if you can sort of spot where there might be similarities or differences in these cards. If you look at, just very basically, this is head up the Fool, this is headed up the Foolish Man at the top, it's got the Spirit of Ether at the bottom, and then this has the Foolish Man, Folly, what's that, Folly Expiation, I think that's supposed to be, and then if you flip it, it's got Hesitation, Instability, Trouble down the bottom there. These are really interesting cards actually, if you ever get a chance to get a hold of this deck. It's just an interesting approach, if you like. So the figure of the Fool can personify openness, indeterminacy, which is inherent in every situation, never mind how much it may appear a matter of routine. And the card can stand for both the beginning and the end. Sometimes instead of 0, you might see XXII. So the beginning and the end, naivety or the most sublime fulfillment. And so there's often some sort of basic meanings here. Zero is an aim, and the search for absolute inner calm allows one to dispense with external models and hard and fast expectations. Calm and freedom create a great openness, connections and synchronicities come into being between the individual and the whole. One can call it the Forrest Gump principle, just being in the right place at the right time. One cannot achieve and bring about more than that, and less would be to renounce existing possibilities. So, one interpretation is, in some ways, like the power of now, living in the moment, but also being in a certain place at a certain time. If you look at the individual parts, so I've mentioned the sort of openness of the position, the pose here. So we've got, these winged arms, if you like, spread out, chins in the air. It's a very sort of open pose. Notice the sort of nose in there, that might be a sign of insecurity or arrogance. This card, a little bit more closed posture. And then this one, completely different perspective, with the Fool's bottom exposed, because it's being sort of almost like, looks like it's being dragged down by it might be just falling down, could be dragged down by this dog. Over here on this card we've got the yellow sky, radiant sun, could be sensual desire and envy, could also represent danger, getting too close to the sun. Could represent illumination and inspiration. So there's plenty of sort of rooms there for interpretation, I think, and things to think about as well, and when we're sort of contemplating the Fool. Then down here we have this, could be a chasm. Okay, it's a bit difficult to see where the next step leaves you. Is it just a terrace and there's just something straight away down here? I mean, these are over in the distance, but maybe we can't see what's necessarily up close. So will the next step take the Fool over the edge to disaster, or simply to the next rock? What else might we notice here? Well, there's a red feather, flame of life, of joy, vital strength, potential, vitality, liveliness of a person's soul and heart. White dog, watchdog. Either the Fool himself is aware and awake and aware in the intensity of the moment, or the dog calls a warning and shows what the human next to him has missed. And you can see that is one of several images, if you like, where it's in all the cards. Although the image of the dog or the hound or sort of canine or wolf even here almost is quite different. And what seems to be the role that they are performing. Is this dog here having a part in the Fool's downfall? So we've got blue-white mountains, so what might that represent in the background? Is that an ice age? Is this here paradise maybe? And this represents, an ice age. And Maybe the fool's all, moving away from that, perhaps. You've got the white sun together with the white rose. You can see there's also a sun in here, rose here. There's the knapsack, which I'm sure we'll come on to, the bundle. So together with the white rose and the white dog, although here we can't really tell what colour the dog is here. This, it's some sort of green. So negative, colourlessness, naivety, mind gone blank, positive nirvana, contemplation, cleansing. The mind is void without identifications and attachments, liberty. Now the zero. So zero warns against a life that turns out to be a waste of time and effort against unused talents. On the other hand, the origin of a system or coordinates, a reference point for all the rest, the absolute. On this one we have the yellow boots. Some boots here again. This is black and white grey scale, so you can't really tell the significance of the colour. These ones, they're more sort of like green, almost like the sort of shoes that you would associate with a fool. So concentrating on the yellow ones. Positive, the fool goes his way with great self-confidence. Every step is taken consciously. Negatively, he seeks his way with his feet instead of using head and heart, because it's almost like his head's looking up at the sky with no attention to what's going on the ground here. And so he seeks his way with his feet instead of using head and heart. What the head has forgotten, the feet must fetch. And then the bundle. So the bundle here is on the floor on this card. On the other two, it's on a stick. Bundle, and this one, the staff specifically, is black on here. So the burden that each of us has to carry. The black staff stands for one's own activities, at first only dimly perceived task to sense and grasp one's potential. So that's the aspect of the card that for me is most indicative of, I suppose, sparking joy, is this moment or moments, hopefully, when one grasps or is made aware of one's full potential, and feeling foolish or recognizing one's foolishness is just a state at a point in time. We don't always have to be foolish, and again, we're not always foolish about everything. There's certain things that we're more foolish about than others. Now, I won't go into all of the other symbology here. This is quite involved. Although lacking in the colour advantages of the other cards, there's a lot more going on this sort of alchemical style deck, hermetic style deck, which really needs reading into. I mean, you can probably see there's the crocodile, alligator, whatever it's supposed to be down here. We have this churning sea. So here, rather than necessarily being a chasm, here it's sort of revealed in some ways, to us at the very least, I suppose, so that the foolish man may not be aware of what's down here, but we can see. We can see these perils. I'm not too hot on alchemical symbols, but again, sort of some significance here. It is interesting though that the bag is on the floor. Yeah. So let me put those to one side. Before we get on and have a look at the reading in the Dhammapada, which might give us a different perspective, it probably will do. Let's just look at this lovely book. So I did a flip through of this a while ago, I think. It's a lovely book, actually, if you get a chance to track this down. When I bought it, I seem to remember at the time it being incredibly reasonable. I don't know what the price of this is currently. I find that most Taschen books are over the years have been very reasonable considering the quality. So we've got the section on the fall here, because here's the original one, and it's interesting to note that if we look at this, I say the original one, but an early representation, notice the close similarities to the AOS one. And here you can see clearly the dog is clutching at the fool's trousers there. Okay, so what have we got here? Qualities: freedom, lust for life, beginnings, adventure. English: the fool, the foolish man, the vagabond. I won't embarrass myself with my attempted German, French or Italian pronunciations here. Symbols: white rose, small bundle, small animal, precipice. And in fact, I think all of those, apart from, well, we didn't really see the precipice in the AOS card, did we? There doesn't seem to be any precipice. It looks pretty flat. So let's look at some other interesting representations. So this first section, this subsection, we've got into the unknown. The full marks the beginning of the journey through the major arcana. Often depicted as a young person, he is usually shown walking precariously close to a cliff or deep ravine, sometimes with one foot poised, as if he is about to step directly into the void, yet he remains blissfully unaware of his imminent danger. His clothes and cap are vividly coloured, usually in blues, reds and yellows, and at times emblazoned with symbols. With one hand he carried his belonging wrapped in a kerchief tied to the end of a staff, casually slung over his shoulder. In the other hand he holds a walking stick or white rose. So that's interesting, a walking stick or white rose, symbolising a white rose symbolising his purity and innocence. At his feet a small dog or other small animal is often shown, a protector and loyal companion on the fool's adventure. But as we've seen, it's, I suppose in some ways, the pulling down of the trousers may be inadvertently happening, and it's just an attempt of the small animal to try and sort of pull the fool back, and that's like a side effect. Beyond are the sun and snow-capped mountains, signifying the ultimate destination ahead, a mystic path towards enlightenment. So that's interesting, yeah. So it could be actually moving towards those rather than necessarily moving away from them. The fool is a nascent spirit embarking on a search for experience. He emerges from the void and sets out on his journey with the innocence of a newborn. His story has yet to be told. He has infinite potential, all things and no thing at once. He is not yet rational, but rather intuitive, acting entirely on instinct. Naive, spontaneous, a blank page awaiting the first touch of ink. He has no expectations, no past. He is rash, obsessed and unrestrained. He is energised and continually renewed by his own inception, propelled forward by impulse and cathartic creation. So yeah, that's it. Tarot de Marseille, that was the early type I was trying to think of. We've got a later one here from 2017, and then some other ones, reimagined ones, 2018, 2019. This one's from 2018. It's an interesting one here from 2081. Fools doing handstands. We have what looks like, I don't know if this is supposed to be Is that an eagle? There's the sun in the background, the mountains, the fall. There's a white flower. This looks like more of a cat. There's our alligator or crocodile. We've got some mushrooms here. That's an interesting one. There's a cat on its back. Yep, there's the Pamela Coleman Smith and A. Waite, Rider-Waite Smith Tarot. There's one from 1929. And another two here. I also thought it would be interesting I just dug out a joker from a regular pack of playing cards. What's interesting to me is, in some games, you don't always use the joker, but the joker is a wild card. Yeah, so that sort of aspect of being a wild card. So let's just finish off with how the Fool might be described in the Dhammapada. See what we can learn from this. Maybe a completely different perspective, but let's see how we go. So, how long is the night to the watchman? How long is the road to the weary? How long is the wandering of lives ending in death for the fool who cannot find the path? If on the great journey of life a man cannot find one who is better or at least as good as himself, let him joyfully travel alone. A fool cannot help him on his journey. These are my sons, this is my wealth. In this way the fool troubles himself. He is not even the owner of himself, how much less of his sons and of his wealth. If a fool can see his own folly, he is in this at least is wise. But the fool who thinks he is wise, he indeed is the real fool. If during the whole of his life a fool lives with a wise man, he never knows the path of wisdom, as the spoon never knows the taste of the soup. But if a man who watches and sees is only a moment with a wise man, he soon knows the path of wisdom, as the tongue knows the taste of the soup. A fool who thinks he is wise goes through life with himself as his enemy, and he ever does wrong deeds which in the end bear bitter fruit. For that deed is not well done. When being done one has to repent, and when one must reap with tears the bitter fruits of the wrong deed. But the deed is indeed well done when being done by one who has not to repent, and when one can reap with joy the sweet fruits of the right deed. So it's thinking here about, our actions and, how they might pan out, I suppose. The wrong action seems sweet to the fool until the reaction comes and brings pain, and the bitter fruits of wrong deeds have then to be eaten by the fool. A fool may fast month after month, eating his food with the sharp point of a blade of kusa grass, and his worth be not a 16th part of that of the wise man whose thoughts feed on truth. A wrong action may not bring its reaction at once, even as fresh milk turns not sour at once. Like a smouldering fire concealed under ashes, it consumes the wrongdoer, the fool. And if ever to his own harm the fool increases in cleverness, this only destroys his own mind, and his fate is worse than before. For he will wish for reputation, for precedence among the monks, for austerity in the monasteries, and for veneration amongst the people. Let householders and hermits both think it was I who did that work, and let them ever ask me what they should do or not do. These are the thoughts of the fool, puffed up with desire and pride. but one is the path of earthly wealth and another is the path of nirvana. Let the follower of Buddha think of this, and without striving for reputation, let him ever strive after freedom. So I think that provides an interesting complement to some of the images we've looked at in this video. I hope you found that interesting. I certainly have. It's just going through, on the spur of the moment. I did sort of pre-select the reading, but I deliberately didn't read it before I read it on camera. I think there's something nice about, spontaneity, and even making mistakes. And also, I deliberately didn't go and pre-read the interpretation in that book. So yeah, that was good. Let me just lay those out again, so we can just maybe just get one final thought about how we want to think about some of the things I've read through there, how they maybe integrate or not, as the case may be. And I look forward to doing a future video. I think the next one I'm going to do in Sparking Joy will probably be about judgment. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now. And I will catch you in a future episode.